thank you all for coming out to our Thursday town hall, the first of a monthly series of town hall meetings, which we will continue to do every first Thursday of every month through this COVID crisis to keep everybody informed. My name is Ben Honoroff. I'm principal of Middle School 50. We're not going to go through and do a whole bunch of announcements because we want to keep this meeting moving, but I do want to do this. If you are MS-50 staff, make some virtual noise. MS-50.
Hi guys. Hi guys.
Hey there, everybody.
Here we go.
Welcome.
All right.
Welcome.
If you are a 8th grade parent, make some noise. 8th grade family. Who's there for 8th grade family? All right. I see some. All right. 8th grade family. 8th grade families. All right. How about we have 7th grade families in the house? Rising 7th grade families. Rising 7th grade families in the house. Rising 7th grade families in the house.
I like it.
All right. How about and our big super welcome. Any incoming 6th grade families in the house? Where are those incoming 6th graders? All right. We like to start with celebration of our community. So thank you for that. I'm now going to mute everybody because I'm going to move into our presentation today. We have a lot of information to give you, and we want to take as much time as possible for your questions and answer sessions too. So I'm going to mute everybody now. We're going to get started. Okay, I'm going to share screen, which is going to show our agenda. Okay. So welcome to Middle School 50, first Town Hall Thursday. Our main objective today is to give you updates on COVID and about our reopening plan and answer all questions that we have. Okay, here's today's agenda. We have 4 parts in today's agenda. Part number 1 is the reopening parent choice. All the 2 choices that are in front of every parent in the DOE, including myself for my 3 kids as well, is are you going to have your 2 students go all remote or in blended learning, which means half of the time in school and half of the time remote. We're going to go over what that choice looks like. Part 2 is what is MS-50's model for blended learning? What model did our SLT select after lots of thought and lots of looking at our own parent data from our home visits, which model we chose. Part 3 is what will remote learning look like? And everybody will be doing some form of remote learning, right? Whether you choose all remote learning or a blended model and your half of your week is remote learning. So I know that's a question on a lot of people's mind, including my own for my kids. What will remote learning look like? And finally, what health and safety measures are we putting into place as a whole Department of Education and specifically at Middle School 50 to promote health and safety for our in-person learning. At the end of each of these sessions, at the end of each of these parts, we're going to stop and do a question and answer. You could do question and answer in one of 2 ways. Either you can put your question in the chat. Ms. Gunn, say hey, Ms. Gunn. Ms. Gunn, Assistant Principal Gunn will be monitoring the chat room, and she will be facilitating the reading out of those questions from the chat. Or if you want to ask a question in person, you can raise your virtual hand and we will unmute you and call on you, and we will do question and answer like that. I will say that try to save your questions for the end of each session because a lot of the questions might be answered in the presentation. We have to finish by 7:15 today because we are doing another session in Spanish at 7:30. So we are going to keep it moving, and I want to respect everybody's time that you are giving to us as well. Now I will say that if there is any question that we either we don't have time to answer or you forgot to ask until the very end, put it in the chat, and I promise you a personal email response to it. So if you put your name and an email or phone number. I will either call you or give you a personal email. I know that sometimes questions come up, get sparked by other things. Just because we have a time constraint tonight does not mean we will not answer your questions. I'm totally committed to answering any question that you have. So I'm going to move on to our first part, which is reopening parent choice, all remote or blended learning. Once we get through those slides, we'll open it up for question and learning about for question and answers about that part one. Okay, so you have two choices in front of you, either all remote or blended learning. And we have done a lot of work already around this, as you have, was our goal of before today. Every family received a remote virtual home visit where we talk with you about your choices. If you have not received that home visit from a teacher or a staff member, message me now. Message me on the chat. Message Ms. Gunn. We'll take down that name and we'll get that home visit to happen to you ASAP. We want 100% individual attention. Okay. A couple principles that are guiding our work before we go into either. It's guiding our work for both in-person and remote. First, before I get into these, I want to just talk a little bit about the work that we've done. We've been working as an SLT to examine the policies around reopening and looking at all the data that came from all of our home visits to make our selections about what our reopening plan is. And as we did that work, we were guided by these four principles. Number one, first and foremost, is health and safety. Every decision that we are making, the first thing that's guiding it for our in-person learning is the health and safety of your children. Your children's health and safety come first. It is also a second guiding principle is that we have this theme that came out of our virtual lunches with Mr. Lopez over the spring remote learning, where we did some DJ battles, and at the end of every virtual lunch we played the same song, "We Are Family," and it represents our belief about our school, that we are a family. And no matter what you choose, whether you choose remote learning or whether you choose all remote or whether you choose in-person, we are family. We are family for in-person school, and we are family for remote. And whichever choice you make, we want you to know that we are committed to being a family and to building family and building community, either remotely or in person. So whichever choice you make, we've got you, and we are all still one big family. We might be, we might have a remote family and an in-person family, but we are still one big MS-50 family. The third guiding principle is, we know from our work in the spring, and we're super proud of the work that our teachers did during spring remote learning, and that our students did and that our parents did. But what we learned is that in order to build community remotely, it's important to have daily live interactions with families. So that is a principle that we are going to try to have for all in-person, all remote, and the remote days for the in-person blended students as well. That we have a commitment to have daily live interactions from an MS-50 teacher in order to build that community. Number four, transparency, communication, and partnership. We know that we are only as strong as our partnership with you, our families. And so we are committed to transparency. That's why we are going to do a monthly town hall meeting just like this. The first Thursday of every month, we will have a town hall meeting. We know that the science changes around COVID, right? The guidelines from the Department of Health and from the city and the state changes, and we need to be, we are going to adapt and change our policies and our strategies based on the science, and also we're always looking at how we're doing as teachers and how our students are doing as learners, and making adaptations. So as things change, we will adapt, and we will keep you, we are committed to keeping you as informed as possible. So at first Thursday of every month, you can mark your calendar, 6 o'clock English, 7:30 Spanish. And finally, we're guided by the principle of equity. We are 100% committed to continuing programming for all types of learning needs, right? I know that across the city, some ENL services and special ed services struggled during remote learning. We are committed to not making that happen at Middle School 50. That if your students receive services for English language learner or has an IEP and receives any type of services, that we're committed to making them happen regardless of whether you're in person or remote. We also have a commitment, and if you, those of you who've been with us already know we have a commitment to teaching our students, basing our education in issues of equity and justice. And at this time in the world, when issues of equity and justice are all around us, we are redoubling that commitment to ground what we do, both in-person teaching and remote, around issues of equity and justice. And we also know that this COVID pandemic has hit our families, our school community, our families hard. It has hit our community very hard. And so we know a lot of our students are going to come back to learning this fall, having experienced loss. And so we are committed to really integrating social emotional learning and trauma-informed care into everything that we do at Middle School 50. So those are the guiding principles. Let me jump into your choice. So you have two choices in front of you. Those of you who have had a home visit, which is the vast majority of you, have already gone through this with Etta or a community school team or Ms. Sostre. Your first choice is you can choose to go all remote. If you don't feel comfortable sending your child physically to the building, it is a perfectly okay option to choose all remote. There is a survey that if you did the home visit, the person, the staff member did with you or did for you. So if you've done that, you're good. If you haven't done that and you want all remote, or if you were waiting to decide until today and you decide you want all remote, we do ask that you fill out that survey. The survey closes tomorrow. That doesn't mean if you change your mind and want to go all remote, you can't do it. You can go all remote at any time, but we ask that you do it. You fill out the survey before tomorrow, because it does give us really important information. We have this very difficult programming job ahead of us to get live instruction for those three groups of kids: the ones who are in front of us, the all remote students, and the students who are on the remote days of blended learning. And the more information about how many kids are all remote we have, the easier it will be for us to program. So we ask you as a favor, as soon as you make your decision, tell us, and then we will make it easier for us to program. This is just a screenshot of what that website says. This is the front page of it. It's available in any language. At the top, you can see you can set the language, and you fill this out if you want 100% remote learning. If you want blended learning, meaning your child is going to be in person with us half the time, you don't fill out the survey. You need to do nothing more. So those are the two choices. I will stop for questions now about this choice in front of you. If there's any questions about if it's questions about what our blended model will look like or what our remote model will look like, hold off on that, because I'm going to explain that in depth. But if you have questions about the choice, about how to make the choice, about how to fill out the documents, ask those now. I don't see it. I don't see any hands. Ms. Gunn, is there any questions in the chat?
No questions. We're good.
All right. So I'm going to go on to the next part. So now that was part one. That was the choice. Here's part two, MS50's blended model. So I'm just going to go over a little bit of the history about how we made this choice. Like our investigation of what choice to make for blended learning really started last year at our community schools champion dinner, where we had a large number of families, and we broke out into breakout groups and started really brainstorming what was working in remote learning, what could be done better in remote learning, and that was really the beginning of our analysis of how to do a reopening plan. So it started then in the summer. Big shout out to the school leadership team. Right in the start of the summer, we did a walkthrough of our entire building. With our custodian. We had the tape measure out. We measured every single classroom and divided it by 42 square feet, which is having 6.5 square feet of space, which is what the science tells us is safe, to figure out how many kids we could have in each classroom. And that was really the start of this choice of which model. Then the SLT met multiple times to review the data as our home visitors visited you and you were making choices about, you filled out a survey, and they filled out a survey with you about whether you want all remote or blended, or what days of blended learning you preferred. We used that data to come up with our MS50 blended model, which we're going to submit to the superintendent tomorrow and get a response from hopefully as soon as possible. So let me just unveil what that is. The model that we chose, there's 3 chancellor's models, and we chose as an SLT the Model 1B called back-to-back school day model. So if you look at this, if you choose blended learning, you will have a consistent day, either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, Friday, and then Monday is an alternating day by weeks. So you come either 2 days a week or 3 days a week, depending on the week. The reason we chose this model was for 2 reasons. One, parents really told us in our home visits that consistency was really key for them. So having 2 consistent days a week will help them plan for childcare and for communication with their jobs. And we also, from a teacher's perspective, having 2 days of instruction right in a row would help them deepen their curriculum and push their curriculum. And thirdly, for health and safety, we wanted to have as much of the cohorts staying the same on in additional days, so there's less changing of who's in the building, so that we can keep everybody tight in their groups. So that's why we went for this back-to-back school day model. If you look on the the DOE website or the UFT website where all the models are, it's Model 1B, and it's called the back-to-back school day model. We've worked out the numbers. We know that we can make this work with the number of teachers and rooms and students in our building. Some schools have to go for 1 to every 3 groups and a much more complex model. So we're happy that we can make this model work. Will MS50 apply for any exception? So if you might have been reading that in this process, schools can apply for an exception. So our SLT does want to apply for an exception. And the exception is that we're calling it is alternating Wednesday exception. So it's taking the 1B model. Remember, in the 1B model, it was Monday was the alternating day. What we want to do is apply for an exception to make Wednesday the alternating day. And the reason we want to do this is 2 reasons. One, we know that the alternating day can be confusing. Well, which week are we on? Which week is it? And this will give us Monday and Tuesday of that week to remind all kids, remind all families, you're on for this Wednesday. It will be, we think it will be easier and more clearer to have Wednesday be the alternating day, and then instead of starting the week with the alternating day. And then secondly, if Wednesday's alternating day, you can see that if one group is, you have Monday and Tuesday is your regular day, and the other group is Thursday and Friday is your regular day, it leads to 3 days in a row for both groups every single week. And our teachers feel that that is a very big advantage in terms of deepening our curriculum and pushing our curriculum. So will we get this exception? I don't know. But my guess is yes. I believe, been doing some talking around the district, and I believe that this will be accepted, but I don't know for sure. I wish I could tell you right now that it's one or the other, but I know it will either be the 1B model with the Monday, or hopefully if we get the Wednesday exception, as soon as we get it, I'll let everybody know, and then we will start the business of programming the students. It is my goal to get out what days your child is coming to us by the last week in August. That's my goal. And it's going to take some doing. It's going to take some long nights of program, but that's the goal. I know that you need that to plan effectively for your like this. If we don't get the exception, it will look like the previous slide. What is the length of the school day for both blended and remote students? This is citywide. It was just released this week that the school day for all students is a little bit shorter. It's 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. So that will be the school day for both blended and remote. Okay. Breakfast and lunch, what will that look like? This was also just released this week. All breakfast and lunch will be grab and go and will be in the classroom. As per DOE regulation, the DOE's guidance, that lunch is supposed to be during an instructional period. I have some questions about that I'm continuing to escalate. And let me say also, like if there's any questions that you asked today that I don't know the answer to, I'm going to be 100% honest and tell you I don't know the answer to it. But I will be continuing to ask. There's still lots of questions that I as a principal and we as a group of principals and across the city are continuing to ask on behalf of our students and families. But we have a plan for that, and we're going to tie it to independent reading so that our students are still able to have a little bit of a break while they eat lunch. If I have more than one child who goes to middle school 50, will they attend the same day? We are committed to making whatever you want, those of you who have siblings, happen. So if you want them both to attend on Monday or Tuesday, we'll make that happen. If you want them one to attend Monday or Tuesday, the other one to attend Thursday and Friday for a different reason, we'll make that happen. So we will be in communication with you, families that have siblings, to get your preference about whether you want them on the same day or on different days. Will El Puente offer after-school programming? So it gives me great pleasure to introduce, I'm going to introduce Fiorella Guevara, our community school director, who will introduce our new Beacon coordinator, who we're so excited to have on the team. Fiorella?
Yeah, hi everybody. Fiorella here. Ben, do you mind just going off the presentation for a second? So
Absolutely, yep, absolutely.
All right. I'm the community school director for El Puente. Happy to see you guys. And I'm going to be introducing John Anthony. Just as a general update, we have not heard about what is going on with DYCD and Beacon programming in terms of after school. That right now, I think a lot of it is dependent on what happens with the school. So that's what we're waiting on. But we have a new director of our Beacon program, and John Anthony, I'll pass it on to you so you can just say hi.
Hey everyone, how are you? Greetings. Just a little bit about me real quick, just a little blurb. I've spent 7 years in youth development. I've started out as an assistant director at Cornerstones. I've escalated myself to director at Cornerstones. I've worked as a director at Beacons and Sonic programs. I actually started out as a member in the Beacon Center and then escalated into a co-locator because I'm a dancer. So I have a heavy dance background. So you'll be seeing a lot of that from me. I'm just here and I'm here to support you guys. I'm excited, and whatever support you need from me, I will make sure if I don't have it on hand, I will find it. So I look forward to a momentous year, no matter what challenge it brings us.
Thank you, John Anthony. Welcome to the family.
And Ben, let me just make one, just to reiterate, like there is funding for Beacon, we just don't know what that's gonna look like. So as soon as we know, we'll let you know.
So our answer to this question is we are waiting, and it will be determined. But as soon as we know, we will get it to you. Okay, so I'm now going to pause here for any questions and answers for the MS50 model for blended learning. I think I saw something in the chat. Is something in the chat, Ms. Gunn?
You have 3 questions, one pertaining more towards this and then 2 other ones.
So go for it.
One was from Stephanie. What protocol do you have in place for students who have siblings in other schools who may come in contact with someone who has the virus and is asked to quarantine or themselves get the virus?
So Stephanie, I'm gonna hold off to that when we get to health and safety, because we're gonna talk about what the protocols are for sick students and for quarantining. That will be addressed later in the presentation.
All right, from Nicole, I chose blended learning. When will I see the schedule for that? I mentioned that we'll start programming at the end of August. That's when we'll have all the information that's needed as far as which students chose remote or blended, and we'll contact all families before the start of the school year.
Yep. So let me just answer that. So who was that question? That was
Nicole.
Nicole. So if you chose blended, you will as soon as we know whether our exception is granted, we will let everybody know. So the child will either be Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday if it's granted. If it's not, it's either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, Friday. So if you know, for example, that you want your child to be in Thursday, Friday, you can message me, because that one, we will definitely have a Thursday, Friday option. Then depending on whether we get granted, it's Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday. But as Ms. Gunn said, by the end of August, by the last week in August, my goal is to have every family know what day, whether they're group A or group B, and what that means. By then, we will know whether our exception is granted. So by the end of August, you'll know. And the schedule is 8:30 to 2 o'clock. We know that already. The schedule is 8:30 to 2 o'clock.
All right, Ms. Mary, how many kids will be in a class? How will you divide the class? And
Yep.
what ELT classes are still part of the curriculum?
Great, all really good questions. Really, really good questions. It's going to be 10 to 12 students per class. We'll get into that a little bit when we do health and safety. That came from our SLT's measuring of the room square footage and determining how many students we could fit in by having 6.5 square feet around them for social distancing. So it's 10 to 12 students per classroom. There's a couple rooms that are a little bit bigger that we could go up to 13, 14, but it will likely be 10 to 12 students. How are we going to determine that? We're going to be looking at the preferences that the families did in their home visit to determine whether it's Thursday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday. A lot of families said they had no preference, which is helpful to us. But if you do have a preference, or if there's a significant, like a really pressing need for a preference, please do message myself or Ms. Etta, and we will try to accommodate all preferences. Was that the last question?
A question about recess. What does recess look like?
Wait, there's another ELT. There's also a question about ELT. So as of now, all students go home at 2 o'clock. So as of now, there is not in-person ELT classes. That might change, but the guidance from the DOE is all students go home at 2 o'clock now. We're very proud of the ELT classes that we did remotely over the spring, and we're going to continue to do that. We're going to offer physical education, art, music, options for remote and potentially remote ELT classes. We had remote debate, we had a remote debate tournament, we had remote fitness and dance. Like we know that that learning doesn't stop at the end of the day or the end of the classroom, and that we want our students to, we have a commitment to helping our middle school students find their passion, whether it's art or music or debate or tech or 3D modeling. We're going to hear more about from our 3D modeling club, has created face shields for us, for all of our students. So we're dedicated to ELT in some form. It won't be in person at the start of the school. That is for sure until guidance changes. But we are looking into ways of doing remote ELT. Sorry, Ms. Coleman, what's the next one?
Last one, confusion over the days. What are the days again for group A versus group B?
Let me go see if I can go back in my slide. Okay. So this is the back-to-back. This is the official chancellor's model. This is like, we would definitely can get this. So it's either the kids come Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday, as one group comes Tuesday, Wednesday, one group comes Thursday, Friday, with Monday being the alternate day. That's one where we can guarantee to get. The one that we're hoping to get, we're putting in an exception for, an exception request, is the same type of model. It's exactly like 1B, except Monday alternating day will be Wednesday. That way we will not, so we don't have our alternating day at the start of the week, is our feeling that alternating day and Wednesday would be much, much better for the two reasons that I said about just communication about the alternating week, and also being able to have 3 days in a row. Week 1, cohort A goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and week 2, cohort B goes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 3 days in a row allows us to deepen the curriculum. Those are the reasons for those choices.
Okay, another question just popped up. Has the proposal for the magnet school been approved, and how will remote learning be affected by it?
Great question. We have not heard. We're supposed to hear in late August, is what they told me initially, that whether we will get our magnet school grant. It does. It will only affect remote planning in that we will have a lot more resources to do a lot more creative programming. But even if we don't get it, we are committed to having creative programming for remote learning.
All right, sorry. So another one from Diane. Will language be part of the curriculum?
It's a great question. Spanish is part of the curriculum for 6th grade. It is, all 6th graders get Spanish, and Spanish is part of the curriculum every year for our dual language class. 7th and 8th graders do not have Spanish in their day unless they choose it in some form of expanded learning time, if they're not in the dual language program. Now, I will say it's a really good question. So I always want to be fully transparent. The programming of live instruction for these three groups of students, all remote, in person, and the remote side of the blended, is going to be a big challenge. We are committed to making it work, but I anticipate that it will not be perfect. And so we have to balance the first priority of health and safety, and making sure we have all of our students socially distanced might mean that that not all contents will be covered as much as we would like to without this pandemic. So I want to be fully honest about that my priorities in order are health and safety and having live instruction for all students. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to have everything for everybody, but a lot of it depends on how many students are in all remote, and how we can figure out a program that works for everybody. All right. Now I'm going to go on to remote learning. What will remote learning, part 3, what will remote learning look like? What will remote learning look like? All right. I want to start out just by talking a little bit about some of our spring remote learning successes, because we're really building our remote learning plan based on what we already learned in the spring. And we're super proud of the work that our students and teachers did during remote learning. So I just want to talk a little bit about our remote learning. We started out remote learning in the spring by delivering devices to all families, Chromebooks, to all families who needed a device. And there was an article written in the Daily News about us. You can check it out. Just Google it, comparing us to Uber computer delivery, because we were out there on the streets delivering Chromebooks to everybody. We will still do that again this year. We're committed to having Chromebook devices for every student. I'll talk about that in a later slide. And then our teachers were incredibly dedicated about doing a mixture of live instruction and self-paced learning, which forms the basis of our remote learning philosophy. And then we got we're proud of the creativity of our staff. We had a virtual lunch and virtual breakfast every day. Mr. Lopez did a breakfast study the multicultural breakfast study where we broke bread together and learned about a different culture's breakfast every morning. We're going to continue to do those types of things. We'll continue to have virtual CAF. We had DJ battles in our virtual CAF, students DJ battles, teacher DJ battles. They even roped the principal into a DJ battle, and I had to say they slept on the old principal who has some skills and won his DJ battle. We had virtual ELT classes of all different types. We had a virtual debate tournament for our students. Then we hosted a virtual debate tournament for elementary school students, and we went to nationals virtually. So all of the things that we do as MS50 that makes us the family that we are, we want to try to make happen in remote. It's not we wish we could all be together and the pandemic would be done, and it's better that way. But we're committed to being innovative and creative and figuring out a way to make all those things happen remotely as well. In fact, we actually just recently presented at a citywide conference on the successes that we had during remote learning. That was asked to present by a citywide principals group. Okay. So as I said, what we learned in the spring in remote learning was that remote learning, the most effective remote learning is a combination of daily live interactions and lessons with students and self-paced work. And that will be the model that remote learning will take this year. There will be daily live lessons. That's what we're committed to, having daily live lessons for all remote students and for the kids who are on their off days. When they're not in person, but they're at home, we're going to figure out a way to also give them daily live lessons. That's programming tricky, but we're committed to trying to figure out how to do that. We have some ideas already about how to make that happen. On the student side and the parent side, when you're remote learning, we want students to commit to participating in the daily live lessons and to be active participants, whether that's participating via chat or participating via raising your virtual hand or your real hand. We like to have cameras on. We know that that's not always possible, but we want what we want to have and ensure, if you're all remote, is that your child is engaging in the live lessons, signing in and engaging with the teacher and with their peers in the live lessons during remote learning. And that the self-paced work, that the students stay caught up on the self-paced work. Our teachers are going to put in really clear, using Google Classroom as our platform, what the work is. And some of it will be self-paced and some of it will be live lessons where we want them to engage. And we believe that learning, at the center of learning is relationship building, both with teachers and with peers. And so that's a little more difficult remotely, but we know that it's key to making it happen. Okay. Remote specials, I talked about this already. Music lessons. So one thing that we cannot have in live instruction is music class. Instrumental music is considered a high-risk activity during the pandemic because of blowing of air and saliva particles. So we will not have any instrumental music lessons during live instruction. Which we're sad about because we have an awesome music program, but we are going to replace that with individual and small group music lessons for remote students. So we're committed to we're trying to right now, Mr. Ware, my music teacher, is putting in grants to raise money to buy more instruments so we can deliver instruments to students so that they can do remote music and have individual small group music lessons. We actually hope to be sort of a model for the city and how to do remote music lessons, individual and small group music lessons. We will have debate just like we did in the spring. We're gonna continue our debate championship run and hopefully go to debate nationals again, whether it be remote or in person. Our PE department did a great job of posting really cool workouts and kids and challenges. We're going to continue to do that. We believe that we don't want our students only in front of screens all day, right? Like, with remote learning comes an increase in screens. We get that. We know that. It has to be. But we also want a time for our children to shut down the screen and do some physical activity, do some stretching, do some yoga, do some push-ups, do some sit-ups. We will continue to do daily PE postings, remote PE postings, and have challenges for students to do there as well. Our art department did some really, really impactful work. I see Ms. Kaiser on the call. Shout out, Ms. Kaiser. Some really cool work with remote art and integrating issues of equity and justice into the work that the students were doing. We did a whole remote art show. The remote art show was super powerful. And we'll continue to do ELT. We did a newspaper. I think I see Ms. Cortero on the call. We did a remote newspaper that we did 2 versions of our student-led newspaper, online edition, a remote newspaper that were really, really powerful. We're going to continue to do our ELT courses that our students love and are passionate about, and we're going to figure out a way to make those still happen. Okay, this is a general question for both remote and for in-person. This is one that I've gotten a bunch of times from parents already. Is it possible that schools will reopen for in-person learning and then close again? I always want to be fully transparent, and the answer is yes to that. The mayor has said that if the threshold is 3% positive cases If we right now we're between 1 and 2. If we go ever above the threshold of 3%, that he will close the school for everybody, and everybody will return to all remote learning. So we are, as we make our plans, we're basically planning multiple schedules for in-person learning and plausible schedules if we have to go to all remote. We hope to be flexible and be able to move very quickly between whichever those realities come our way. All right, that is part 3. So it's time for remote learning question and answers. Remote learning question and answers. You can take.
Okay, so
I'll stop share so I can see hand raised too. Go ahead.
from Jordan, he just wanted you to address the recess. Recess.
Yep. So let me address that in terms of PE. Every time a student has PE, we are going to always try to have it be outside PE. We're not going to be having a lot of activity, a lot of physical activity inside, as we're following the science on that. So at all times, we're going to try to have PE outside. We do have a yard, and when possible, we'll have PE outside. When it's not possible to have PE outside, we will do some light stretching in the gymnasium. As of now, there is not, under DOE guidelines, all lunch is in the classroom and there's not a place for recess. It does not mean that we will not see how things are going and try to ask those questions to DOE to see if we can carve out some time for some outside play. It would be only outside. We are going to be really, as I said, our first guideline is health and safety. So we're going to take social distancing and mask wearing, which we'll get into shortly, very, very seriously. And but there might be some opportunities for some outside play. We still are waiting guidance from the DOE about whether that's a possibility or not.
Okay, so there was a question from Stephanie Maldonado. A good question. I answered it, but I just want to share it. She asked, she said her daughter is an incoming 6th grader. She has a DOE iPad, so she wanted to know if she can continue to use that, and if teachers would send a link to join Google Classroom. So I told her that if students have a DOE iPad, they can continue to use that, and teachers will reach out to students and send out links to get on Google Classroom. We'll walk them through that.
Yep, I'm just going to follow up with that. All incoming 6th graders have been invited to join the Welcome to Middle School 50 Google Classroom. So what's mom's name again?
Stephanie Maldonado.
Oh, Ms. Maldonado, if you have had the home visit already, you are signed up for our G Suite and have a @MS50 Community Schools email. If you don't have that, message us. We'll get that to you, and then your child will have an invite waiting for them to join MS50 Google Classroom. Then the teachers will absolutely invite them to their specific teachers Google Classroom once the year starts. But right now, there is some, for incoming 6th graders, there is some optional summer work that is posted. There's an independent reading assignment and a math assignment that is already posted. So optional, but encouraged to do those. And those are posted in the Google Classroom. In terms of iPad, yes, you can keep those. However, we will still get you a Chromebook. We find that Chromebooks are much easier to do work on since they have a keyboard. So you can keep that iPad with you, but we will also get you a Chromebook that your child will either keep at home for all remote or bring back and forth if your child is in blended. Mr. Lopez, thank you, is showing us what our Chromebooks look like. I have ordered additional Chromebooks already. Hopefully they will be there at the start of the school. I'm going to address Chromebooks in a later slide.
Okay, from Shatisha, will teachers offer one-on-one after classes if they're struggling during remote learning?
Absolutely, we have a lot of time for individual work. We will carve that out. It's something that we very much deeply believe in. Thank you for that question. It's a very good one.
And teachers also have office hours.
Yes, teachers will also have office hours daily. This was just released by the city. It's 20 minutes of office hours daily. That's not a lot. And I know our teachers out here are like, being like, what? That's like, what can we really do in 20 minutes of office hours? So I know our teachers go above and beyond and will be there for you, for your child, for anybody who needs extra help. But for remote learning, my biggest suggestion is just make sure that that your child is engaging in all of the live lessons and asking questions, right? So if they're engaging in a live lesson, they don't understand something, ask that question in the chat. If they're raise their hand or say, "Can I private message you?" Our teachers will take that and will absolutely get you help.
Okay, a question from Ms. Dunn. She said her son has some issues with work being submitted. However, he received an iPad, but there was always issues with work being submitted due to different instructions with Big Ideas, Khan Academy. She would like to know if this will be worked out. So
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There was, you know, definitely bumps in the road with technology and new platforms. So if there's please message in the fall, message the teacher. If you have a specific thing that that was an issue, you can message me or Ms. Gunn, and we'll try to work it out before we start. But if there's any, you know, as I always say, I'll be fully transparent. There's bumps in the road for me as I was learning how to use Google Classroom as a principal, right? So it was a learning curve for all of us. We're much more fluent in Google Classroom now after having done it for 3 months. But there's Khan Academy and there's Big Ideas. You're right. There's other platforms that we use, and sometimes there's bumps in the road. So just communicate with us, and we will absolutely work to solve them.
okay, great. Student engagement question from Diane Pinero. She wants to know if there's a plan in place to make it mandatory for the students to engage more. For example, make their videos live and engage in conversations.
So it is not mandated. It is strongly recommended. And what is mandated is engagement. We cannot mandate turning on cameras because that's just not always possible, and depending on different situations. But what is mandated is engagement. So if you can't turn on your video, turn on your video is number one, highly recommended. It's always better to be able to engage face to face. But if that's not possible for a variety of reasons, and there can be a variety of reasons that's not possible, the chat is an ability to engage. Posting something on Google Classroom is an ability to engage. There's other ways that students can engage, and that is mandatory, is the engagement. We are going to ask parents to encourage their children to put cameras on. That's what we're encouraging that, and teachers will encourage that too. But what we do want is what we are mandating is live engagement in the live lessons. When the teacher's live, you got to be on, if at all possible. Now, you know, things happen with remote, like the Wi-Fi gets out, you know, things happen, and we will always be flexible around that when that happens. But, you know, we want the children to be engaged. That's how they're going to learn.
Okay, question from Ms. Mary. Can kids bring their own lunch?
Yes, great question. Absolutely, absolutely. Kids can bring their own lunch and can bring their own breakfast. Breakfast and lunch will be in the classroom, and students are encouraged to bring their lunch if they like to. We will also provide grab-and-go lunches from the cafeteria, but they will be bag lunch style. There will not be hot lunches. There will be this is DOE policy across the DOE. We're sad about that because our cafeteria staff makes awesome hot lunches, and we're sad about that. But that is the policy from the DOE. That is grab-and-go lunches in the classroom, and students are welcome to bring. And I should also say, students are encouraged to bring water bottles that can be refilled. We are going to be shutting off the water fountain part where you take sips from the water fountain for health and safety reasons, but keeping the bottle fill open. So that students are encouraged to bring water. We want to also really push healthy eating, that in this time of COVID, especially where we are either cooped up remotely or not moving around a lot in the classrooms, which we'll get to shortly. Healthy eating is really key. So we encourage bring a water bottle and filling up with water. We discourage high sugar drinks and soda, and we discourage candies and Takis. Sorry, kids who are on the call. We are encouraging healthy snacks and healthy lunches and healthy, especially water. Ms. Gunn got the staff into this challenge of bringing a gallon of water. So you might have seen us walking around with our gallon bottles. There goes Mr. Lopez is right there. we are all in on drinking water for health reasons, and for COVID, during the time of COVID, it's even more important. So please send your child with a water bottle, either a disposable one that they can fill up in the water fountain, the water bottle filler, or one of even better, environmentally, one of those metal canisters.
Okay.
I think I saw something else
That's
pop
it.
up.
Kenneth Martinez needs help with his DOE iPad. So if you could just send us, Kenneth, if you could just send us your number and email address, we'll we'll connect you with someone to help you with that. And Stephanie Maldonado will reach out to you.
Yeah, so for the DOE iPads, they did just get as Annalyn said, there's a new security software that they're using for the DOE iPads. I don't have a ton of information on it, but if you go to that link and then click on ensure your child's internet safety, I'll put that text in the chat as well. There should be instructions for how to add that software. It's called Zscaler. And so once you install that onto the iPads, they should be able to work fully again. And
Right.
if not, feel free to reach out to me.
Introduction and after he spoke, this is Mr. Strip, 8th grade social studies teacher, and our newly appointed SPOC, which is the person that's in charge of technology. I don't know what that stands for, but so he is our tech guru. We're super grateful to Mr. Strip. He knows he is a tech expert and will help everybody with anything they need technologically. So he's on it. He's on the case. If you need any tech support, he's there.
Okay,
Anything else, Ms. Gunn?
I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to go to the fourth part of our presentation today, which is health and safety. So these are going to be health and safety measures that we are putting into place for in-person learning that are mostly taken all from DOE guidance and state guidance, with a couple additional things that we're putting in on our own. But the most important thing for me is the health and safety of your children. Like that, you entrust us with your children, and we take that trust very, very seriously. So in this time of the pandemic, it is at our top priority. Okay, here's some parts of our health and safety plan. So first is that students are first divided into class cohorts, right? They're either cohort A or cohort B. So they either come Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, let's say we get our exception. They either come Monday, Tuesday, or they come Thursday, Friday, and they come alternating Wednesdays. So we're already dividing it into smaller groups by that. From there, we're dividing the classes into groups of 10 to 12 students. We are, for the most part, your students will only travel with that small group. Some schools are calling it a pod. We're calling it just a small, your group. So your group of 10 to 12 students, your student will travel with. The only time that might differ is in PE, and if that's the case, during PE, students will be socially distanced with masks on. But we are going to try to get everybody just to stay 10 to 12 students at all times. And the reason for this is so that we don't have cross exposure. That if, God forbid, somebody tests positive for COVID, that we know that they will have the only people that will have to be quarantined will be the ones that were in that small group of 10 to 12. That the students are not going to change classes so that they're exposed to other students. Second, masks and face shields. It is a requirement. We are requiring that all students and all community members, all students, all staff, all visitors wear masks or face coverings at all times. Students can bring in their own mask. It's encouraged that students bring in their own mask. However, we will have disposable masks to give out to anybody who needs one. Plastic face shields. As I mentioned earlier, our MS50 3D printing club during COVID, during the spring remote learning, figured out how to get a design for face shields and printed face shields. We then gave out the face shields to our essential workers at the school, our cafeteria workers, our school safety agents, and we gave out face shields to any community member who was an essential worker that asked for one. This summer, our 3D printing club has been generating face shields nonstop, and we will give a free face shield to every student and every staff member. Now, the face shields are not mandatory. You do not have to wear a face shield. You have to wear a mask, but you don't have to wear a face shield. But face shields do give an extra level of protection. Face shields do not replace masks. You cannot wear, this is DOE state guidance, state guidance that you can wear a face shield, but it has to be over a face mask. And that comes from the science about the spread of COVID. Face masks provide an extra level of protection. We're super proud of our 3D printing club and their advisor, Ms. Bat, and the community schools team that helped fund extra printers, that we were able to do this. There's an example of using what we're learning at Middle School 50 to be leaders of peace and justice in the world, and I was super proud of them. And so everybody's going to have a face mask that is given to them. I say a face shield. Once again, masks are a requirement for everybody that is in the building. Hand washing, hand sanitizing. We got 2 new hand sanitizer dispensers, one at the main entrance and one at the outside of the cafeteria. We're hoping to get more dispensers, and every teacher's classroom will have according to the DOE, they said they're going to provide us with hand sanitizer for every classroom. So we're going to hold them to that and ensure that we have that. Our policy is that every student, when they walk into the building, will use hand sanitizer. Not every student, every community member, every staff, every student, every visitor. Anybody who comes into the building, they hand sanitize. Once you leave the building, you hand sanitize as well. And you also hand sanitize before eating. So that is a mandatory thing. Everybody hand sanitizes upon entering the building, upon leaving the building, and before and after they eat. Social distancing. All of our students will be socially distancing during their classes. That's why we have our ratio of 12 students, and we will use social distancing policies at all times. We will limit the sharing of materials. Students will not be sharing calculators or pencils or pens. We have invested in more money to buy more of those things so that everybody can have individual. As I said, we will give a Chromebook to every student, and we ask students who are in the blended learning option to bring their Chromebook and their charger to and from school, and to charge their Chromebook at night, so it's fully charged and ready to go when they bring it to school. That way, we don't want students to have to be borrowing Chromebooks in school and have to worry about whether that Chromebook was properly sanitized or prior to their usage. So everybody gets their own Chromebook, and we ask that they bring it to and from school. Temperature screening. This is newly updated. There's DOE policies for all community members, staff, and students to do a health screening every morning before coming to school, including a temperature screening at home. The DOE is committed to providing thermometers to anybody who needs one, and that the school staff will be doing random temperature screening in the morning before entry. Not everybody will be temperature screened, but there will be random temperature screening. And limited building access. We are going to limit access to the building to everybody, to visitors, to parents. I'm working with Success Academy to ensure that they do not have inside arrival and inside dismissal. We want to keep our building as tight with just students and staff as possible to reduce exposure to COVID to anybody and to keep everybody safe. Cleaning and ventilation. I mentioned health and temperature screening already. Sorry, I didn't do cleaning and ventilation. Cleaning and ventilation. So cleaning protocol. I met with our SLT met with our custodian Lou over the summer, and then I met with him again recently. The cleaning protocol is a full deep clean every night of all classrooms, including the use of an electrostatic sprayer, which enables them to put a mist that sanitizes the whole room and everything that is in it. So that happens every night. Ventilation, the DOE has promised to check all ventilation systems and update all ventilation systems, provide new filters. Lou has said our ventilation systems have already been checked and they are all in good working order, and he's ordered new filters for all ventilation systems. And we are going to go with the most old-fashioned of ventilation systems. We are going to open windows in every room at all times. Science has told us that that is the best ventilation system that is possible is fresh air. So that will happen. And a big shout out to community schools team who has purchased already air purifiers to go into every one of our classrooms to add a little bit of extra safety there. Okay. Health temperature screens I talked about. Okay, let's talk about protocols for sick students. There's a DOE-wide protocol, which I still have some questions about that I'm still escalating. If a student exhibits COVID symptoms or feels sick, self-reports, or somebody notices that they're looking sick, we have an isolation room that will where they will be seen by the nurse. And they will stay in the and if the nurse determines that they are at risk for having COVID symptoms, they will the families will be called to pick them up, and they will stay in the isolation room. We've identified the isolation room as a nurse's office and a secondary isolation room of our dance room, room 221, which is very large and has lots of windows. If there are more than one person, right? If there's somebody's in the isolation room, we do not want any other students to come in and be exposed to them if they maybe, scraped a knee or some needs a nurse in some other way. So we will have a way to have to keep the student in isolation room and still be able to see others. Or if there's more than one person in isolation room, 6 students or 6 staff, they will both go to the isolation room. Testing and tracing protocols. So first, also for sick students, if a student is sent home for COVID symptoms, the student will have to be tested for COVID and can only come back to school when they show a negative COVID test and are cleared by a doctor and have been symptom-free for 24 hours. That is a system DOE-wide protocol, which we will adhere to very, very, very seriously for the safety of everybody. Testing and tracing protocols. If we have somebody that tests positive, if God forbid a student or a staff member tests positive, then anybody who has been in that class will quarantine for 14 days, and that classroom will be shut down for 14 days. That does not mean the protocol does not happen if somebody is feeling sick or has symptoms. That comes into play when it is a positive COVID result. If there's more than one COVID result in the positive test in the COVID from positive COVID test in the school from 2 different classes, then the whole building will be closed for at least 24 hours. And there will be a hotline that will be given to all families to find out when the building will be open. They can call by 6 o'clock every night. Also, this is part of the system DOE-wide protocol. This chart, I could leave up. You could take a look at is what the DOE provided to us for the what happens for one confirmed case or 2 different cases. So I'm going to take the answer to that question from before, that if there is a COVID case in another school or a COVID case in a family's house, then that family will need to quarantine their student, inform us, because once there's a COVID case, the contact tracers from the Department of Health will come to the school and interview me, and we will find out who has been in close contact with the student and go into the tracing measures. So if the basic rule is, if your child is feeling sick, keep them home. And if it's COVID-like symptoms, get them tested. Or if they've been exposed to something, to someone who has a positive test outside of school, either in the family or a sibling of another school or something, we want to err on the side of caution, get tested. If the child is negative, they come back. If the child is feeling sick, we need a negative case and 24 hours of no symptoms without any aid of medication. That is following all of the science on that. All right, we are looking like we are close to time, so I'm going to go now to Q&A. That was our last one. We're doing good on time, so I'm opening it up for Q&A, and then we have a little fun activity to end with.
All right, you have a few questions.
All right, go for it.
Is Mary, she says, what if we don't have a Chromebook and used our own computer?
Totally fine. totally fine. If you want to do that, we ask that you bring it back and forth. If you're not comfortable bringing it back and forth, we can lend your child a Chromebook to use at school and not take home and put it in a safe place. But I think the safest thing is to have your child just walk and back with the Chromebook. On that front, I gotta say one more thing because I forgot to mention it. A question that might be asked is, are we going to do the collecting of cell phone policy that we normally do? The answer is no. We are not going to collect cell phones. Incoming sixth graders, we have a very important policy because we know cell phones are huge distractions to learning. So we collect cell phones in AM homeroom and give them back in PM homeroom. We're not going to do any collecting of cell phones just for sanitizing reasons and safety reasons. But we very much still believe that cell phones are a distraction. So we're going to ask that teachers that kids turn them off and put them away. We're also looking at investing in little baggies to keep for kids to keep them in their own bag. All right, next question, and I thought of a couple other things I forgot to mention.
Jessica Flores, will we still pool supplies and cleaning products for teachers? Example, boxes of wipes, hand soap, and sanitizer.
No, you do not need to do that. It's a very nice offer, but we are going to take care of that. We're going to take care of that. On one other thing I forgot to mention, this might answer the question, is movement of classes. Classes are going to stay in their class the whole day, with the exception of potentially gym and potentially art. So to use the gymnasium and the art room, which are key rooms for their in-person learning. But outside of that, students are going to stay in their room and teachers are going to come to them.
So there was a question about social distancing when switching classes.
Yep, so we're not going to have a lot of switching classes. Whenever students go to gym, they will be practicing social distancing. When they're going to the bathroom, we'll be practicing social distancing in the bath, as waiting outside for bathrooms. We'll have a monitor of the bathroom to make sure we're practicing social distancing there.
Did you speak about the signage and the up and down stairs?
Yes, I did not. Thank you for that reminder. We are going to put signs all over the place to remind students to stay to the right when they're walking. So in the hallways, we're going to have students stay to the right so that we try to keep everybody socially distanced if they're walking in the hallway. And we're going to put one stairway for up and one stairway for down. Stairway B up, stairway C down. We'll have signs showing that so that kids won't pass on the way.
Okay, from Kimberly Lopez, for students who'll be learning remotely, will there be consistent daily live lessons for core classes?
Yes.
Okay. Heather Samples and Andy Enright, 2 questions. What can you tell us about how each 10 to 12 student class day will interact with teachers? For example, will they stay all day with a single teacher? Will that same teacher be their primary remote teacher too?
Great questions. I'll be, as always, 100% transparent that we haven't worked out the exact model yet. We're still waiting to get all of our numbers for how many students are in remote and how many teachers are all remote because of requesting accommodations. But most likely, the students will be they'll be in one room, and the different content area teachers will come to them. There will be on the off day, if you're a blended learning student, right? If you're a blended learning student and you're there on Monday and Tuesday and you're off on Thursday and Friday, it will not be the teacher that's teaching them in person, because that teacher in person teaching will be teaching the other group of kids. But it will be another MS-50 teacher that will be doing a lesson that supplements what that teacher is doing, what their main teacher is doing. Their main teacher is responsible for their grading and their outreach, but there will be a remote teacher, another MS-50 remote teacher that will provide an assist. As you can imagine, that programming is complex, but we're going to work to make it as smooth and as strong as possible.
They also asked if there's anything you need from them or any way they can help.
Yes, thank you. We will be, our PTA, we have a incredibly awesome and fierce PTA that advocates for our students. And so I don't have something right now, but keep your ear out. We will always call on parents to help us in advocating for our students, in fundraising, in helping build community remotely. So we thank you for the offer, and we will be in touch about different ways our parents can help.
Okay, from iPhone Dobby, Mr. Aronoff, did you say desk ventilation? So it's in regards to when we were talking about ventilation.
Ventilation, our ventilation systems, our ACs, and our old-fashioned ventilation system of opening the window. Our ACs have all been checked, and our ventilation, school-wide ventilation system has been checked, and it's in working order, and new filters have been ordered. Not there yet, but they've been ordered. And we will have air purifiers in each room, and we will open the windows wherever possible.
Okay, Leslie asked if students can gather belongings from lockers, and I said yes, we'll work on
Yes, so our sixth grade classes, our third floor has lockers. It's something that we put some funding into when we had a big chunk of funding. Lockers are surprisingly more expensive than you would think. But we do not have lockers in our 7th and 8th grade classrooms. So 6th grade students will have lockers in their classrooms. 7th and 8th grade classrooms do not have lockers. So students in the 7th and 8th grade will keep their belongings on them. Normally we have closets where people put their belongings, but we will not put the closets into play because of restrictions on COVID. So that is not ideal.
The question was about gathering belongings from the school year. So
oh yes, of course. Yes. If you have personal belongings, you can come. You can gather those. Your child can gather those belongings first thing in September.
So there is a question: what if one case positive in MS50 and one positive in Success Academy the same day?
That is a great question, and I promise to tell you when I don't know the answer to the question, and that is one that I don't know the answer to. My guess is that that would count as 2 separate cases, but it is a fantastic question. I am writing that one down, or I'm gonna ask Anna Lynn, who's note-taking, to write that down, and I will expedite that question. I'll raise that question. That's a fantastic question.
Okay, Diane Pinero, she recommends parents download Screen Time app. That way, parents can block all apps that might be a distraction to our kids during the school day. Thanks,
you.
Diane.
Thank you, Diane.
Nina, I think this is from Nasir. How are we working with pullouts?
In terms of for related services, we will have related services. We will socially distance when that happens. Related services will happen in person, and if families are all remote, will also happen remotely as well. We are dedicated to making sure all related services are provided regardless of remote or in person.
Okay, so we got a couple parents asking us if they can help with donations, help with masks, hand sanitizer, school supplies, snacks.
Thank you. Please, if you could record it and put your names in the chat, and we'll take it down, and we will take you up on offers. I mean, we will take you up on offers. I will say, in terms of hand sanitizer, the DOE has promised to provide us all the hand sanitizers we need, and my first order of business is ensuring that they live up to that promise. So but there will be other places where that ask comes into place.
Okay, and Vivian states that her daughter, she returned the DOE iPad to the elementary school. Can she get another one?
We will provide you with a Chromebook. That is a definite. I don't know what the DOE will do if they're going to open up their iPad distribution again. I know that has since closed as of the spring. I think the protocol was for the iPads to stay with the kids. So if the elementary school asked for it back, I don't think that was exactly right. I mean, I suppose you could ask the elementary school for it back. I don't know if the DOE will open up iPad distribution again, but we will give you a Chromebook, which we think is actually preferable because it has a keyboard and allows kids to write.
Okay, and Mary wants to know, how will we social distance during arrival and dismissal?
A very, very good question. The thing that I will tell you is that we will have staff members out during arrival and out during dismissal. I will be, I'm out there every day for dismissal. You see me, and we will be out there, and we will encourage our students to social distance in dismissing. As they walk away from the school and as they walk to the train station or bus station or walk home, we will encourage social distancing, and we are going to teach them about the science of COVID and why that's important. And we hope that when they're out of our sight, that those lessons will still stay in their mind and they will continue to follow. as much as we can, we will encourage that upon arrival dismissal. For arrival, we cannot, and I should have said this earlier, we used to, welcome students in at 7:45 for breakfast. We cannot do that. We cannot do that because we can't have a cafeteria with kids from different groups, because if, God forbid, somebody has test positive for COVID, then they will have exposed multiple people in different groups who could expose other people. So we cannot, we cannot, is DOE guidance that we cannot, and we agree with that guidance that we are not going to do that. So students are not going to be coming into the building prior to 8:30, a little bit before. We'll open up the doors, but it's not like at 7:45 students can come in and hang in the calf, and that greatly makes us sad. Because we love that time in the morning. That saddens us, but we're putting health and safety first on that one.
Okay, and from Stephanie Maldonado, do you foresee the school opening on the date already established?
Great question. That's a $1 million question right there. All I can tell you is what the chancellor has told us, and that is we are preparing for a September 10th start date.
Okay, I think we're good. Is there any other question or anything? In the chat, we're fine.
So we are at 7:17, which is perfect, which gives me time to do a little tradition here at MS50 that was started in virtual cafeteria, and I think by our ELA teacher, Miss Atkins, brought this to virtual caf, and we ran with it. And that is we end every meeting with the playing of a song that represents our belief about our school. We always talk about how we're family, so we play the song "We Are Family." And I'm gonna share my music right now and play it. And here's the challenge: if you would like to dance to it, I'm going to go like Barclays Center Jumbotron on you and pin your video so that you're in video for everybody. So if you want your video pinned, bust a move a little bit, and and I'll do my best to get you Jumbotroned on. If you don't want to be Jumbotron pinned, then don't dance. But if you're dancing, I'm gonna find you and Jumbotron pin you. Everybody ready?
Ben, real quick.
Yeah.
There was a question earlier, and I'm not sure if it was answered, but the parent asked about if there's a child at another school, she has a child at another school and one at MS50, what if they test positive? If somebody at their school tests positive and they send them home because it's in the same class, how do they go about telling us? Like, do they have to tell us, their siblings that live together?
Yeah, they should tell us, and they should keep their child home until their child gets a test and tests negative.
Okay, there's one more question from Vivian. She wants to know, how can she apply for Beacon?
Durella?
Once we know what the Beacon looks like in terms of like the schedule, we will put out the applications. We're gonna send out notifications through our normal communications. Mr. Onroff, you can also share the social media sites, or we share the MS50 website. We send messages through Class Dojo. So we're gonna share how you apply through all those. So please follow us on all those things. And we're pretty active on all those things. So please do follow us, and please make sure you sign up through Class Dojo. That's where a lot of the stuff is going for. And I will also just open it. I know we did a lot of questions through the chat, but is there anybody that wants to just ask their question? I just want to make sure that we hear from everybody.
While we're waiting, the screen will be up for like another minute. If you want to take a picture of it, you go for it, because I'm about to take the screen down. Class Dojo, if you're an increment 6th grade family, take a picture of this right here and get onto Class Dojo. We got a lot of fun things shared on Class Dojo. Any hand raisers? I can't see it.
I can't, yeah. Or you can just unmute yourself and ask. It's fine too.
I don't see any hand raisers.
Or if you have any comments.
I'll say also, for any updates, there will be a COVID section forthcoming on our website that will have all of the schedule information as soon as we know it, and a breakdown of all of our health and safety protocols that you can see there. There's also links to all of these accounts that you can use as well.
And check out our new website, ms50.org. It's live, right, Mr. Strip?
It is live.
All right,
It's
Mr.
already been
Strip.
critiqued once.
Our newly minted website, ms50.org. You can't forget that one. All right, I'm gonna stop this share, and we're going to go into our We Are Family to end. Let's see if I can make this work.
Ready, go. Say hi.
Come on, Mr. DJ, make it.
Hi, Matthew.
Say hi.
Get those home runs. Woohoo!
Oh, wait, we're seeing his whole list.
I
Right?
don't know if you're sharing your whole playlist now.
And we fly just like birds.
Hey, gasolina.
Is that better?
You stopped it.
No, just share sound, Ben.
Hold on. Sorry.
There you go.
My DJ skills not good. My DJ skills are not good. Hold on. Let me get back there. Hold on. I'm gonna get this
Too
right.
much pressure. Too much pressure.
Music sound only. All right, there we go. Computer sound. All right, I got it now. Here we go. Because I got to be able to see you so that I can.
There you go.
We're giving love in a family dog. We are family. Hey, I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing.
Hey.
We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. Living life is fun, and we've just begun to get our share of this world's delight. High hopes we have for the future and our goals in sight. We know we don't get depressed. Here's what we call our golden rule. Have faith in you and the things you do. You won't go wrong. Oh no, this is our family jewel. We are family. Sing it to me. I got all my sisters with me. Sing it to me. We are family. I can hear you, guys. Get up, everybody, and sing. Woo! We have faith in you and the things you do. Hey, I got all my sisters with me.
Yeah, Trinity, I see you.
Hey.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you. All right, we're back. I think we're back. All right, thank you, everybody. That is a tradition that we have in Middle School 50 because we are family, and we are going to be family whether we're in person or whether we're all remote or whether we're on the remote day of our in-person blended model. We are all going to be one family. So thank you so much for coming out. We're going to have another one of these first Thursday in September. And if we need to have another one because something changes in the DOE, we will hold another one prior to that.